I'm live. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day today. Adam here at Maple Monkey Media, and we are back with another live video. The the light's kind of all wonky, but that's okay. Not at the tiny cabin right now, at my mother's. So I just wanted to get in a live video, trying to get back in the swing of things. I'd like to get a live video every week. So as always, it's funny because I was just saying I get nervous for these live streams. So hey John, how's it going? 9 a.m. 9 a.m. No, no, not 9 a.m. It's AST, Atlantic Standard Time. So that's all my time zones is Atlantic Standard Time. Hello, Annette. Good to see you. I hope you're having a great day from South Africa. Probably a little bit better weather than we're having. Have my handy dandy script right here. And if you've caught the thumbnail, then today's video is just going to be what I have learned over the last little bit, dealing with living in a tiny house, specifically under 200 square feet. And I've seen some people, they've done similar videos to this, so some of the points may be overlaying as well, but that's fine. This is just going to be my personal opinion and my personal thoughts of what it's been like for living in a tiny house, the advantages, the disadvantages, and things of that nature. So without any further ado, we'll just jump right into it. And excuse me if I'm looking over here, because like I say, I just have my script. If I didn't have it, I'd just be all willy-nilly all over the place. So the first thing is an advantage I found about living in a tiny house is if you're living in there with your partner, you're hopefully you have a good relationship, because I find that there is not a lot of space in a tiny house to escape your partner. Not that I'm saying that I want to escape my partner, but as with any relationship, there's going to be feuds, good times, bad times, and sometimes you need to get away from each other, and that's fine if you need to do that. Everybody needs their own personal space. But hopefully, if you're living in a tiny space with your partner, you have a good relationship, because it's gonna build your relationship even that much more because of how close you are. And I think that is an absolutely amazing thing. Mind you, it does have its advantages for the same reasons, but we're going to focus on the positive right now. It's going to build your relationship because you're spending that much more time with that person in a tiny space. So when you do have to, when you bicker, when you argue, or things like that, you kind of don't really want to kind of leave it. And living in a tiny space, you can't go into another room, or you can't go into another area really. So you kind of have to, it brings things to the light, and it kind of, I'm going to say, forces you to talk and to work things out. Whether you want to or not, I don't know, but I find that it's better because it strengthens your relationship, makes you talk things out more, and builds that foundation even better than saying, oh, like dealing, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm just going to go into another room, or I'm just going to go here and kind of stew in my own thoughts. Mind you, that sometimes still does happen. Not perfect in any sense, but it definitely builds a stronger relationship. And on the negative side of that, it's going to do just the opposite as well. So if you and your partner don't have a healthy, strong relationship, and you're getting into a tiny house and you're living together, it may bring out the worst, because you're around that person so much. You kind of maybe are impeding on a little bit of your privacy and their privacy. So if you don't have that strong relationship with your partner, then it's gonna disintegrate and crumble the foundations that you have built. Um, so I that's it kind of goes both, has its advantages, has its disadvantages for the relationship. But there, I think it definitely has more advantages. I absolutely love living with my partner Stephanie. She brings out the best in me and brings out the worst in me sometimes, and that's the case sometimes. And there would be no other person that I'd want to go on this journey with. So I'm super thankful that she has the same outlook and the same perspectives that I do as well. Another advantage. Sorry for the light. It seems to be changing all the time. But we're just going to roll with the punches. So another advantage I found is, since it's being such a small space, is it's going to force you to go outside so much more. Not really that much you can do inside of a small space, and especially in the winter months, I am definitely right now getting what they say is a cabin fever. Is we've been inside for these winter months. I've been champing at the bit to get outside and work on all of the projects that I have. So I find that it forces you to go outside and do things outside as opposed to sitting in front of the TV or in front of the computer. Mind you, it's still fine that you do that. Everybody needs to kind of relax some R&R time. But I find that when you live in a tiny space, the outside of your tiny space, whatever part of your property, it almost is like another room that's to your house. So that is definitely another advantage. Yeah, I'm going to say it forces you to go outside, to be one with nature. And I find that most people that want to live tiny usually like to be outside, do gardening, and do things outside as well, hiking, naturology, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but be one with nature, so to speak. So that's definitely another advantage. Huge advantage if you set yourself up for it this way is you have less bills. Great thing about it is if you set it up the right way, no mortgage, you can pay everything off. Mind you, we still are connected to the power grid just because my partner, she works at home. So we can't really go the route of having the inconsistency of maybe solar right now because she needs the grid for electricity because she works from home. So she needs all the power, the internet and everything to be able to work from home. But if you set it up right, you can have no mortgage payments. Set it up right. You can grow your own vegetables, grow your own food, and all of that stuff. So it's less bills. And I find that don't really want to go out more. I'm not a big partier, not a big going out to eat every now and then is fine, but we don't really go out to eat all the time as much as we used to. We don't get fast food delivered just because we're into the country. There's no spots that deliver to us where we are into the country, so it forces us to eat healthier and to save some money on the things that we were doing and investing in, like fast food, DoorDash, delivery, things of that nature at our old place. So like I say, that may not be the case for everybody, but we have found we've been setting this up for the past couple of years to have less bills, to have less money going out into things that we may not need, and the money that is going out, it's going out to build our infrastructure. Hey, Roadhog, good to see you again. Hope you're having a blessed day. Hope you're all having a blessed weekend. So yeah, less bills, but you have to take into account that you have to think of the future. If you're not there yet, try and set yourself up to take away some bills that going out and eating, going out and partying, alcohol, things of that nature. You don't need all of that stuff. It's good in small quantities, but it's crazy how much, if you start to get into it a lot, how much of your money is just absolutely sucked away from that, when you could be building your infrastructure for building your self-reliance lifestyle, or building it for so you can get a down payment for land or things of that nature. Doing awesome. Absolutely great weekend. We have a great weather here today. The sun is shining. Supposed to be around 5 degrees. Got a busy day after I am doing this live stream. Got a couple different jobs that I have to take care of. So that's why I wanted to jump on here a little earlier in the day. So we're going to move right along. And another disadvantage about a small space, it is just that. It's a small space. So if you do things like gardening, for instance, we had a real tough time trying to find some spots for starting our seeds and our plants in the garden area this year. Mind you, we made it work. We moved some stuff around, and we have some trays and some seeds all over the place. We'll do another video of that really soon, giving you all another garden update. We started so many more seeds, so many more sprouts, and we are just super excited for the garden coming up this year. But to take away space from let's say living in 1,000 square feet or 1,200 square feet, chances are you have some extra space where you could do some workouts, or you have another room you could go to and use as an office, or do any kind of activities that you like, for instance, woodworking, painting, or things like that nature. It's a little bit easier to do that when you have a bigger space. It's a little bit harder to find the area that you need to set aside. If you want to do a home workout, you kind of got to move some stuff around, or if you want to set up seeds or have a prayer closet, storage, things of that nature. So a tiny space is just as they say, it's a tiny space for a reason. And you need to kind of be cognizant of that when you think of different activities and things you want to incorporate into that as well. That's why we have well, right now we're going to say so many oat buildings coming up. We have the greenhouse coming up. We have the Wallapini coming up. We have building the tiny church. It's because all of that stuff is so difficult to incorporate into our space with everything that we need in it right now to live. So, for instance, next year we're going to work on the Wallapini this year, going to be a year-round greenhouse. And instead of using the space that we're taking up inside of our tiny house this year for all the seeds and trays and lights and everything, that won't be the case next year because we can move that into the Wallapini. So that's kind of setting ourselves up for success for the future as well. That space that we're used right now, we can use that and dedicate that for other things into the tiny house. This goes into another point. If you're building or designing your space for the tiny house, you have to utilize every single nook and cranny available that you have for you. Oh, hey, Lisa, great to see you. I hope you're having a blessed day. So happy to see you. Thank you so much, y'all, for taking some time out of your day to stop by and see what's happening. But yeah, if you're taking some measurements and designs and things of that nature, you have to incorporate everything where it's going to go. Storage in this area. Oh, okay, we're going to put the fridge here to utilize this area. Shelves here. You have to utilize every square foot that you can, and we're still in the midst of doing that. We have a lot more work to do, and we're utilizing it to the best of our abilities. If you've been following along the channel, you may know that we didn't even get into the property until about October. So winter was right on our heels, and I am just blown away by the amount of progress that we've got done in that short amount of time to get into our house living before the snow came. So it is going to be a busy spring, summer, and fall season coming up, setting ourselves up for success for next year as well. And each year is going to, the first year is absolutely going to be the hardest because you're building everything from ground up. Not unless you buy something, but if you build it and you prefab it yourself, you're going to be having to start everything from scratch. So that in itself takes time, and you're going to run into things, unexpected expenses. Things are going to take longer than you would have first realized. For instance, when we were moving in, there was a hurricane that hit, which postponed our closing by, I want to say, almost a month. So that in itself really messed up our timeline with a lot of things. So you have to take that into account when you're starting off your build. Everything is probably going to take longer than you think it's going to take. Jobs that I think are going to take a weekend literally take like 2 months, 3 months. And that's the way the cookie crumbles kind of thing. And everybody's asking, oh, why is it that you start all of these new projects? Why don't you just finish something and move on to the next? Well, it's kind of because we only have a certain amount of money. We only have a certain amount of products or wood that we can use, and I don't want to wait on one job and not do anything while I have some other materials that I can use for another job that's on the list. So, for instance, building the tiny church, everyone's like, oh, well, why haven't you done any work to your house or finished your office? Well, because we're still in the winter. We have to move all the electronics out from the office, out into the yard, because we have to lay down the floor. That's the next step that we need to do. We have to finish the floor and the ceiling, and we don't want to move all the electronics out into the snow and potentially ruin everything. So instead of just waiting and not doing anything, the wood, I had extra wood from the cabin and need a spot because I need to have a dedicated spot for prayer for the Lord. So instead of just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, I took the wood that was extra from the cabin and I got building with the tiny church. And it's going to be the same thing. Whether or not it'll get done in the next little bit, I'm going to have to start working on the chicken coop because we have chickens coming at the end of June. And we have to get on to the start of building that, and we're going to be trying to get reclaimed materials from that. So may take a break from one aspect of one build and move on to another aspect of another build. Everything is going to happen. Everything, I have a list of everything that we need to get done, and it all has to get done at some point in time. So me jumping from one thing to another is just with materials that you have on hand. So that's the kind of a not really anything to do with the pros and cons of this, but I just felt that I wanted to explain that as well. Disadvantage. Yeah, I just said building yourself usually takes longer than expected. More money, more time, more effort. Things arise. You may run out of one thing one week, don't have the money for it. So if you're working from paycheck to paycheck, you have to take that into account. And you have to, I find that it's better to do something rather than nothing. And I just move on to the next thing. When I have the money and the time or the resources, I'll move back to finish what I can, keep working at it, and go doing it some more. Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful to see y'all here. What else do we have here? Closer to the land. Yes, that is what I was just saying before. Brings you closer to the land, makes me and my partner go outside even more, maybe not so much in the winter months, but things like we're going to be blueberry picking. We're going to be out in the garden, tending to the garden. Actually, we just have purchased a tiller. We'll be posting what it looks like on my Facebook page here in the next little bit. And when we get using that, going to do a video of a rundown of what we think of the brand is that we use. Got a good steal of a deal for it. So super excited to bring those videos with you as well when we get going with the garden. But like things like snowshoeing, I like to go into the woods, look for different game trails, track animals, do different, look for chaga, herbs, different things like that. So it forces you to get out in nature a lot more that I want to be doing this with the upcoming season as well. Fishing. So it's all back into the self-reliance mindset, trying to do as many things as you can to cut grocery bills down, down, down every month, every year as possible. So fishing is another aspect that we both love and that we're going to be incorporating. And we wouldn't really get out to it that much because let's say if we were living in a bigger house, go out fishing as more of a hobby. But I want to take it to another level this year to try and get some striped bass and to get some trout and other assortments of fish to fill the freezer up with. So it's just one of the other aspects that we can get to be more self-reliant. Things like clam digging, foraging, hunting, things of that nature. I find that tiny house, it gets you into the mindset of how can we be more self-sufficient from what the land provides us, because it provides us with so many things. Things like dandelions. Dandelions are some of the most best things that you can get for your heart health. You can make tinctures, make a dandelion mead, mullion, different things like that nature. It forces you to go and research different things that is going to help you in your journey in tiny house living and to be self-sustainable. For us, it goes hand in hand, and I would think that most people going along this journey, it would be the kind of the same thing. What else do we have? Another thing. So if you build something yourself, or even if you have something prefabbed, tiny houses usually have all, well, not usually, they always have a lot less area, and the stuff that is built for regular houses is usually too big. So to get like a couch or a table and a chair from, let's say, IKEA or the brick or something like that, chances are it's not going to fit in. So you have to be good with woodworking, you have to be good with measurements and measuring and things like that, because you're going to have to custom make the furniture that goes in there as well to make it fit where it's not going to be overwhelming your living space. And we're kind of dealing with that now. Is the coach that we have into the living room, we brought that back from our place that we were living at before, and it is just a full-size coach. It pretty well takes up one wall of the living room, and we have just a narrow walkway that goes through the stairs into the kitchen area. It's not the best fit right now, but we don't really have anything going for what we can replace it with. So we kept it in the time being, but I'm going to have to custom build a sectional coach that fits into the area, goes along one wall and then goes along the other wall, and then the wood stove's in front of it there. Oh, excuse me. So you have to take that into account. If I find it's a lot harder to try and find smaller appliances, not that you're ever going to build an appliance, but furniture, tables, chairs, things of that nature. You need to maybe some things you'll have fold down, fold up, and chances are you're going to have to build that to fit your custom space as it is. What else? I was asking for ideas and questions and everything, and I didn't get any help, and that's fine. I'm only playing around with y'all, so I don't have very much down here. This is just what I could think of for kind of my own journey of living in a tiny house. It's definitely not going to be as long of a live stream as it was as last week. Last week we ran into, or maybe a couple weeks ago, we ran into an almost an hour. I would love to do these weekly, so don't be shy, don't be hesitant. If there's any questions that you have, let me know. Hit me up. I have all kinds: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, comments, direct messaging. Hit me up, and we'll see if we can't put some stuff together so we can continue to do weekly live streams. I'd like to get out into the garden with doing a live stream. I like to do some cooking live streams, so that's all going to be into the future coming up here. But this is just what I could think of. Some of the advantages and disadvantages I've thought of over the last little bit of living in a tiny space. Kind of something related to this, which knew that I was gonna be along this lines, is before that I jumped into wanting to live tiny and self-sufficient. I did a lot of traveling, and I literally lived out of a backpack for pretty much 2 or 3 years, traveling all across Canada. I hitchhiked across Canada, moved out west, and lived out west in British Columbia for 3 or 4 different times. I lived in Mexico, lived in Bali, traveled to Singapore, traveled here, there, and everywhere a few different times. And in that time, I pretty much just lived out of a backpack. So the less you have is actually the more you have. It's a lot easier to maintain. I find that I've done a couple moves where we've moved from actual size hoses, and the clutter that you get is just half of the stuff, more than half of the stuff that you have. You don't even use half of it. Even still, with the stuff that we've brought in from our move, we still have to go through the bus and downsize. We have done a lot of downsizing already, but the stuff that you have, that's all it is just stuff. And you may use it once or twice a year, if that, or it'll sit there collecting dust. And we have found that to be the case, that less is actually more. And you really don't need that much to live comfortably and to live happily. Now, if you're in the mindset of materialism, that may be a little bit harder to shake that. But I found it was super easy for me because, like I said, I lived out of a backpack. Everything had its segmented places. My backpack would be packed the same way every time I would pack up and move from one place to another. So you don't need that much. And I learned that when I was traveling, because you see some people, they live in poverty in other parts of the world. They have to go and hike miles and miles for fresh water. They don't have running water. They don't have plumbing. They just have a house over their head, and even their house, in some cases that I was at, is a shanty, and they are some of the happiest people that you could ever meet. So it's crazy to think that some of these people that had literally have like all this stuff in their house, and they're just some of the most unhappy people that you meet. It's actually a shame. So in my opinion, less is more. And when you go tiny, it's going to force you to evaluate what is good in your life. What do you need in your life? What makes me happy? And what is this stuff that I'm just holding on to and just keeping around for the sake of keeping around? I'll just keep it and I'll chuck it into the closet, and by the time you know it, your closet is filled, and you have to chuck it into another room. And it's just crazy, the amount of stuff that people think that you need, when in reality you really don't need a quarter of it or an eighth of it. And you will have a much better living experience, much happier lifestyle, much healthier lifestyle. It has also forced us to be healthier as well. Like I said, it goes in turn with being outside more, breathing that much more fresh air, going back to the basics of eating healthy, because the stuff that we get from the superstores and the supermarkets, they're just packed with a bunch of garbage. So it forces you to take your health into account, because we're only here once. This body is what we got. Health is wealth, and if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So that incorporates in itself as well. It forced me to get back to the basics, work out better, structure my days better, eat better, eat cleaner, And that goes in turn with growing our own food, growing our own vegetables. We're going to be having chickens here, raising our own meat, raising our own eggs, and just getting back to the basics of a simpler time. Because you think back in the day of the homesteaders and people traveling across the country in caravans and setting themselves up, they literally just brought the bare necessities to live the life that they wanted to live, because that's all that they needed. They didn't have any of the frills and the luxuries that we have today. Bare necessities, and building from there. And that's not to say that you can't have any of the modern day amenities, because we still have a TV, we still have Netflix, we still have internet, we still have hot water, we still have running water. We don't have a plumbing system just yet. Can't really deal with any of that right now because the ground is frozen. But just because you don't have a plumbing system, we just have a 5-gallon bucket under our sink for right now. You have to be wary, because some days that the water will be draining out of the sink and you can hear the bucket fill up, and you'll have to open up the cupboard underneath and you realize, I better put the plug in the sink before it overflows into the cabinet. But saying that, that doesn't mean that you can't have an absolutely amazing life with no running water, no bathroom. We are still using an outhouse. Not the funnest to use in the winter months when the snow is blowing and you got to go out and do your business, but you make do with what you got. And you're not going to know if you really want this lifestyle until you go after it. So I know that there's people out there that have said that they wanted to go off grid or wanted to live tiny and do self-sufficiency. So they go out there and they build up their infrastructure, or they buy a farm or build a tiny house or buy a tiny house. And then they realize after they get there that that's not the lifestyle that they want. And that's completely fine. It's not for everybody, but you're not going to know if you've always had this inclination in your head that, oh, I want to live tiny and I want to go off grid and I want to do this and I want to do that. You're never going to know if it's actually for you until you actually do it. You can listen to all these videos about how people live their life and about how they take their experiences and yada yada yada. You're not going to know for yourself until you actually do it. You may jump into it and you say, man, this is not what people have told me. This is so much harder. Like, for instance, when I was building the cabin, I was living out of my car for the first little bit because I knew this is the lifestyle that I wanted. I was in the area that I wanted to be in. I had a job in the area that I wanted to be in. So I needed to live out of my car. I was happy with that. Then winter came, still building the cabin, still wanted to do the lifestyle. So I built the hobo hut. If you remember back then, that was literally, that's why I call it a hobo hut. It was just literally a shanty. And I had my winter sleeping bag in there, no running water, no nothing, could barely stand up in there. And I'm telling you, like, some days I tell my partner and she laughs at me because thankfully we had the bus, because we were living in that for a couple months while I was still building. And I said, if we didn't have the bus, we would have been living in the hobo hut kind of thing. We would have been living in a shanty, and I would have been able to do it. But she says she definitely wouldn't have been able to do it. So, and she knows that, and that's completely fine. Everybody's on their own different scales of what they can handle and what they can't handle, right? She may need some more necessities than I need, and I may need less necessities, because I still say to her that there's some days where I miss living into the hobo hut. The hobo hut was just very simple, very, very peaceful, very tranquil. I would get that fire going in there and I would just curl up in my sleeping bag and have some of the best sleeps I've ever had in my life. So you're never going to know until you go out and do it. So if you are in have the inclination that you want to go out and try living self-sufficiently, living off grid, you can start to do some of the things in your place right now. Grow your own vegetables. Maybe segue off a part of your house and say, okay, we're only going to live in this part of our house for 30 days. So we'll do a 30-day challenge, and we'll live in the living room. We can't use any of the other rooms in the house, and we'll see what we like. Or go camping and live in a house and things like that. So that's pretty much all that I have to discuss with y'all today. Ran 30 minutes. Hopefully y'all got some buffering, no audio. I don't know. Hopefully that changes, but I don't know. Technology, it is what it is, I guess. Hopefully it comes up and we can save it, and it works itself out. I'm not too sure what's happening. Everything looks good on my end. So, but that's the live stream for today. We're pretty near 30 minutes. Going to take off here in the next little bit, go do some, got to go do some working. So muchly appreciate y'all checking out to the live stream. We have some nice weather coming up here in the next little bit. So we're going to get building onto the tiny church, and we're going to get building with the chicken coop and all that good stuff. That's going to be coming up here in the next little bit. So muchly appreciate y'all checking out. Muchly appreciate the continued support, and I hope you have a very blessed day. And we'll see y'all here very back here soon. We'll see y'all back here very shortly for another episode. Adam from Maple Monkey Media signing off here. Keep that stick on the ice, and there is no failure. You just got to keep on going, and you can't start at the finish line. Just remember that. So God bless. End the live stream now, and we'll see y'all next week for another live stream. Yeah, hope you have a great week coming up, and we'll see y'all next time. Just going to look over here in the comments before I take off, actually. Oh, well, thank you so much. Maybe it was I had an ad running when you said that it was bring no audio, so maybe it had to do with an ad. I'm not sure. Some days I think that I'm good at these things and with technology, and then other days I literally want to just throw it out into the woods and have nothing to do with any of it and be like a caveman. So it's frustrating sometimes, I know. So hopefully everything worked itself out, because I literally don't know what I could do otherwise. So so I'm sorry if it didn't. Are you going to build a workshop? Yes, eventually. Until the time being, it's going to take a little bit to finish the bus into the RV. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to clean the bus out we're going to get it cleaned out in the springtime, and we're going to switch that over into a woodworking shop for me. So I can get some small little projects out for woodworking and things of that nature. Actually, I have another little bit. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I just want to bring up some plans that I have for the channel, actually, before I take off as well. Because somebody just had mentioned, oh, you should get some merchandise on the go. I would absolutely love to. So some plans for the channel. I want to get some stickers on the go, want to get some decals on the go. There's channel subscriptions that I want to get on the go as well. I don't want to put too much pressure onto myself. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things with getting consistent in my videos first, but there's going to be different tiers of different perks that you can have for a subscription base. When you see channels, they have that join button up there. So I want to get that set up, and you can have little perks and different, things of that nature. Same with t-shirts and decals and stickers and all of that. I want to get some of that stuff made out and get sent out to y'all, and show you my support for the support that you have shown me as well. Oh, that's right. I just want to give a shout out to John Hubble. I got a donation from him the other day. It was a super thanks. Man, muchly appreciate that. It is muchly appreciated. And I just checked my Patreon. Haven't gone on there in a little bit. And I want to give a huge shout out to Stephen Larson. He's subscribed for my Patreon as well. So muchly appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. It is really appreciated. And all of the donations, everything gets reinvested right back into the channel, whether it be materials for videos, different things for videos, things that I may need, plants, yada, yada, yada. Everything that gets donated, it gets reinvested to go right back into the channel to help continuing with making videos, to help continuing build the homestead, and to help continuing, to give you guys some motivation for your own journey as well. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to add on to the end. Muchly appreciate. We'll do a typical Nova Scotia goodbye, where we say goodbye 4 times, and then we stand by the door, we talk for 10 more minutes, and then we say goodbye again, and then it moves out to the driveway. Everybody's into their cars. My mom's over here laughing because she knows it's the truth, and then we'll say another goodbye by the cars. So typical Nova Scotia goodbye here, where I say goodbye 4 times, keep talking, say goodbye again, keep talking, say goodbye again for the last time. So we're in the car right now. We're saying our last goodbyes, and much appreciate y'all stopping by, and we'll see y'all very soon. So a Nova Scotia goodbye, if you didn't know what it was, or I'm just going to say maybe an East Coastern goodbye. 4 different goodbyes, 4 different conversations, and you're still talking when the other person is, into the car. Oh yeah, yeah, good, good. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Closing the door on the other person so we can finally leave, kind of thing. So that's what an East Coast goodbye is. That's what a Nova Scotia goodbye is. So we'll try and leave you on a high note with a little bit of a smile in that sense in itself. So God bless you all and keep that stick on the ice. And we'll see you all very, very shortly for another episode. We'll see you all very, very shortly for another live stream. So many plans for the channel. God bless you all. And I thank you. Thank you so much. So much, Glenna. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate y'all. I have continuously said that you guys are some of the best subscribers that anybody could have, and I wouldn't be here without y'all. And here we go. Here's the fourth goodbye. So, Nova Scotia goodbye for the final time. God bless y'all, and we'll see y'all again very soon. Cheers. Peace. God bless. Have a wonderful week ahead.